Okay, welcome everybody, members and officers and the public out there. Just some notes before we begin. The Scrutiny Committee is being conducted live in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021 for the Council, arranging for multi-location meetings. I would remind members that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. Can I request that you all switch off your cameras and mute your microphones when you are not speaking to ensure there is no unnecessary background noise and to help with the audio and the visual quality of the broadcast. The Council's standing orders and code of conduct will apply at all times during this virtual meeting in the same way as ordinary meetings, and members should conduct themselves accordingly. Can I also remind members to ensure that their chat function is switched on and to use that facility to indicate to me when they wish to speak on a particular item. Please do not speak until I invite you to do so. And remember to unmute your microphone and switch your camera on. As well as being broadcast live, a recorded version of this remote meeting will be uploaded onto the Council website for public viewing as soon as possible after this meeting. Welsh translation of the proceedings can be provided upon request. The image and sound recordings may also be used for training purposes within the Council. Thank you, everybody. Can we ask if there are any apologies?
No apologies, Chair.
Are there any declarations of interest that people wish to make at this juncture? Okay, then can we welcome our guests, and we'll go straight into item 3 with a presentation, I understand.
So if I introduce us,
Chair,
obviously we've got our names here, but not all of us. So I'm Tracy McKim, the head of service, but I was previously in Janice's role as partnerships lead. So the previous committee members have heard from us many times on this subject. Janice Bent, who's the partnership and policy manager and the lead now for this, and Nicola Dance, who works within the area and does a lot of the hard work, so it's no less important. Obviously, we've got research director sitting at the rear there. So what we thought we'd do on the first item is give committee members a little bit of a background about the Gwent PSB, why it formed, how that's come about, what it uses as its basis, and then that'll perhaps help answer some of the questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. Just double check that people can see the slides presentation. Should be. Yes.
Yeah, we can see them. I can see them. Nice. I can see them.
Brilliant. Thank you. So Prahanda, so you've obviously all received the papers, so I'm not going to go through the report ad litem because obviously that would be very boring. But hopefully the presentation will help, like Tracy said, some of the queries that we know are likely to come up in relation to the Gwent PSB. So we're hoping that I appreciate that it has been talked about previously, but obviously not, some of the members new, so you may not have kind of understood the background or had open to the background. So we're looking at item 3, and it's on pages 3 to 20 in the pack. So as we all know, the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act came into force in 2015. I'm sure people have seen this photo and this image many, many times. So the Act sets those 7 wellbeing goals and puts a wellbeing duty on us as a local authority and public body to act jointly together in our Public Services Board. So the whole aim is to improve our economic, social, environmental and cultural wellbeing and contributing to those wellbeing goals. So when we make a decision as a public body, we need to make sure that we're having due regard to the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act and these particular wellbeing goals. So the plan that we're going to talk about today is linked to these goals, but also there's a requirement that we set our wellbeing objectives and that each public service board does this. And it is about how are we going to achieve those wellbeing goals and what objectives are we going to take and what steps are we going to take towards those objectives. So just as a background to timelines, so the Public Services Board will be the body that has responsibility for the wellbeing plan. So in July 2021, which feels like forever ago now, all of the Gwent local authorities and other statutory bodies agreed to merge and become one Gwent Public Services Board. This was then created in October 2021, and I know Scrutiny members have seen the One Newport action plan, and that One Newport then became our local delivery arm of the Gwent PSB. So still very much is responsible for looking after the needs of Newport and the needs of our citizens. And that doesn't change when it comes to the Gwent Wellbeing Plan. So in May this year, there was the Gwent Wellbeing Assessments were undertaken, including 6 across Newport, different areas of Newport. And all of those were collated into the 3 themes, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and that will form the wellbeing objectives for the Gwent plan. So the Gwent plan is under consultation at the moment, which is why we brought it to members to have that discussion. Closes on the 31st of December, and then we'll be hopefully going to Cabinet this year and to full council next year, ready for publication across the whole of Gwent in May. So as the Partnership Scrutiny Board, you are one of the statutory consultees in relation to the draft plan, which is why we brought it here today. So these are the members of Gwent PSB. So as you can see, it's all the local authorities. We've got the Health Board, Police, Fire Service, National Resources Wales. I won't go through them all. But those public bodies that have a duty under the Act are all part of Gwent PSB. From a Newport perspective, the leader and our chief executive are part of the Gwent PSB. So in relation to the needs of Newport citizens and Newport businesses, I'm sure you can appreciate that the leader and the chief exec are well on board in relation to making sure that they're heard and considered in any discussions that happen at the Gwent level. And then we make sure that our residents are clearly and effectively met through those regional and local processes. So we've got the Gwent PSB and then One Newport that sits underneath as our local arm. So both of those things are looking in particular at Newport and wider Gwent. So what about Newport? I'm sure that's what we all want to know. That's why we're here. So the One Newport partnership remains really strong partnership. We've got a really good ethos in relation to partnership engagement in One Newport, and really positive conversations in relation to how we can all work together to improve the lives of people across Newport. So the One Newport is got the same membership, is chaired by the leader as well. So you can see the importance that we put on partnership working across Newport and how we can improve the lives of the people across all communities. And we are in the process of developing our local action plan that sits underneath the regional plan and supports the regional plan. So we've held a couple of workshops. We had one last week. We've got another one Friday morning, with partners and residents across the city to be able to feed into our local delivery plan. They will support the Gwent plans, because when we look at those themes, they are applicable to everybody, but there may also be things that are specifically applicable to people in Newport that might not be as important across the rest of Gwent. So this is the role of One Newport then, and our local action plan to be able to deliver those. So once we create the draft local action plan, that will again be out for consultation with our residents and our businesses and partners before it becomes ratified and comes through our democratic services. The most important thing about our local action plan is that it's evidence-based on the wellbeing assessments, and it makes sure that our citizens, the needs of our citizens, are at the forefront of everything that we do in the city. So hopefully that helps a little bit with some of the questions about Newport. From a Gwent perspective, the consultation is out, as we said, and we are consulting all the statutory bodies, including members of this committee, and we'll come back to these questions at the end, and particularly looking at, do you agree as a committee that achieving those objectives would improve wellbeing? Do you have any comments on the objectives, on any ideas on how we can improve them? Do you think there's been anything missed in the objectives? how can we measure, and I know Councillor Cox, this is kind of something that you're particularly interested in, isn't it, is those measures and the so what is the impact moving forward, and then any other comments afterwards that we can feed back into the regional wellbeing plan, and also take into account when we're helping to develop the local action plan as well. So these are the overarching wellbeing objectives that were that were based on the analysis of the wellbeing assessments and then agreed by the Gwent PSB. So want to create a fair and equitable Gwent for all, want to create a Gwent that has friendly, safe and confident communities, and we want to create a Gwent where the natural environment is protected and enhanced. And I'm not sure if you looked at if you were involved last week in council meeting in the signing off of the corporate plan, you can see how these themes are coming down through into what we do as well. And they also link to the Marmot principle. So Gwent has the ambition to be the first Marmot region within Wales, and we've been working with the Institute of Health Equity to kind of understand those. And there's 8 principles that kind of underpin that, which is around giving children the best start in life, enabling children and young people and adults to maximise their capabilities and improve their lives, looking at fair employment and healthy standard of living for all. And I know this isn't for Marmot today, but we can come back and talk about Marmots. But if you look at the difference in health outcomes and life expectancy for people in the most deprived areas, particularly of Newport, as opposed to the kind of better off areas of Newport. For women, there's up to a 20-year difference between those areas. So it is kind of something that Gwent in particular is really keen to be able to work with the Institute on, to be able to kind of try and close that gap and improve the lives for everyone. So, sorry, I'll breathe in a minute. So this is the steps that come under it. So what, I'm not going to read through them all in one, but the feedback that has been presented to date is around the fact that many of these steps, there's too many of them in relation to measuring and kind of being able to kind of work with it. But also a lot of the steps are cross-cutting, so they don't necessarily just fit under objective 1 or just objective 2. So the aim is that the final plan has the objective as the main thing, and then the steps across the whole of the themes, rather than trying to separate them into the 3 different ones. But these are the kind of things that we're asking you to comment upon today. I feel like I just kind of put the answers into your mouth, so apologies for that. Obviously you can say anything you want to. But you can see in there again those links, both with what we want to do across Gwent, what we want to do locally in Newport, our corporate plan, and also the Marmot. So you can see about child poverty and our carbon work, our climate change work, and all of those things that go all the way through. And again, objective 2, which is the confident and safe community, so a big link to our community safety partnership, our Safer Newport, and how the work of that kind of improves and helps to improve the well-being across the whole of the region, Newport in particular. And then the natural environment. So we know at Newport we've already called a climate emergency, a nature emergency, so it's building upon the work of that and trying to reduce the impact and all of those things. So yes, going back to why are we here? So it really is kind of over to you for a discussion, and we can help if you want to. Just that, do you agree that the objectives will improve people's well-being? Have you got any comments on the objectives or how they can be improved? Anything that's missing, and about measurements, and any other comments? So, and any other questions you might have for any of us?
Okay, any other comments from anything?
Well, Chair, I'm not sure you can see my hand raised.
Go on, Kevin.
For me, it's an objective 2 around the antisocial behaviour. Obviously, this is the big thing that impacts all communities across Gwent. I mean, I am not going to make the mistake and look inwardly at my own ward all the time, because I know that this is spread across Gwent. It's about barometers for me. How can the Public Service Board measure improvements in dealing with, for instance, antisocial behaviour? How can they provide statistics say this area is getting better, that's getting better, we're getting on top of it? You know, some kind of barometer for measuring improvements in children causing antisocial behaviour. Just a simple one, really, to start off.
Okay, can I thank you for your presentation before Kevin jumped straight in there, eager, and I can understand his concerns. Thank you for that, and we're here to not to criticise or to.
It's not a criticism, Chair. Honestly,
no,
it's an observation.
Kevin, sorry, you've jumped in before I thank the speaker for her offer of helping us to help her and the team. So I wanted to pick up on that before, but to answer your question in a minute. So thank you for that. We are here to make things better. That's our job. We're not scrutinising for the sake of scrutiny. We're scrutinising because we want the best for our residents, as does Kevin with the residents of Bex, one of our areas that does need a lot of help. Kevin, sorry, Janice is going to answer your question, Kevin. Sorry.
I kind of am and kind of not. Sorry, Councillor. Sorry, Chair. So these are the kind of things that we need to be feeding back to the Gwent PSB so that they can consider them in the final plans. As you can imagine, these are things that we're going to be looking at from a Newport perspective and how we're going to measure them. But also the importance of tonight, I guess, and your feedback is about feeding back into Gwent. So yeah, so I don't think I've got the answer to how they're going to do it, but certainly, well, the answer is that I will feed that back into the consultation for Gwent.
Thanks.
So the sorts of things we need to think about, and so I think antisocial behaviour is really important because it's about identifying things that no one partner can resolve. So we often look to the police perhaps for antisocial behaviour issues or sometimes the council, but actually does the education sector, the housing sector, the third sector, Natural Resources Wales in terms of green spaces, what can that collective do to support the work that's already happening? That is really hard to measure because it's like an extra bit that supports everything else. But this plan is very much about this work might be happening here in the police and here in health, all different things that those bodies do. What can be done as a collective to support different initiatives? And I guess our job is to identify what's important. And I think what you're saying is that is important.
And also, Tracy, can I just finish by saying, I think the whole thing of the joined up approach here is across Gwent is massive. It should have happened a long time ago. I think it's really important. I don't mind saying it's probably off track a little bit, but when people join up and together, things do work better for me. I'll give you an example today on the Severn Bridge. We had radio control, whatnot at times, and we had a report in today off our abseilers that the fire service would be low. There's a lot of activity, so they radio in what's going on. And when I spoke to the fire service after, they had let the Coast Guard know, but not us, who actually manage and run the Severn Bridge. So today they actually changed policy and said, oh, we didn't think about you. And I said, well, if more people are aware of these things, it would cause less alarm. So now today a new policy was put in place, and things like scrutiny can spread out from scrutiny into things like that. So, and that's why the irony of it is we're having this scrutiny meeting tonight. I just thought, and there you have it. If they were all joined up, everybody knows what each other's kind of doing, and we can measure against each other, and we can say we got better at doing this. So another area can say, well, do you mind us? We'll be copying that. And I just think this is where you spread a good disease, to coin the phrase. So yeah, I'm a massive fan of the whole joined up approach. I really am.
Thanks, Kevin. A good case history for us there as well. One of the concerns that we have generally about setting up these things is that the resources go to where they're needed. And we know that with the All County Council, for all its good, one of the issues that they had is that they took resources away from the wealthier areas to the poorer areas, which is fine, but sometimes we've got our poor areas. It's not just rich Newport. We've got poor Newport as well as rich Newport, and therefore they tended to suffer. So that's one of the issues that we need to keep an eye on here.
Agreed.
Next.
Chair, I'm all in favour of partnership working. But if the result is just a generic plan, a one answer fits all, that's not going to work. The whole point about Gwent is that it's differentiated. There has to be differentiation, and okay, well, we're thinking about the future generations, the needs of the future generations, and they're going to be different in different parts of Gwent. My concern in protection of future generations, keeping them safe and resilient from climate change, is that here in Newport, for example, we face the flooding risk, a huge flooding risk. At the top of the valleys, they face a completely different risk of coal tips slipping down and endangering houses and endangering lives. So these are different risks, and they've got to be, I think, incorporated into an overall plan. Now, I think this is work backwards, that the individual areas who have different plans should have developed their needs first, and that come together as a regional partnership plan, rather than the other way around, saying here's the overall plan, you fit into this, you fit your needs into this overall plan. I think it should have been the other way around.
Right, so I do agree that there's different kind of needs across the whole of Gwent. Going back to the kind of how it's fed in, so the needs assessments that were carried out across the whole of Gwent, they are the things that are fed into the themes. So it was the local needs that's fed into the actual wellbeing plan and the draft. So now what we're looking at is how those objectives, but it is from our 6 Newport wards and all of the Caerphilly wards, so they have fed into the overarching plan.
Chair? Well, where in the overall plan then is a flood defence scheme for Newport? It's
in objective. That's where we need to get to, is that specifics, but it's under objective 2 or 3. Sorry, my memory is terrible. The 3. So it's all around the natural environment and how we're combating climate change, flooding, and all of our areas. So that's the overarching theme, which is the regional theme. And then as we're developing, so that has fed in from Newport and from all of the other areas. But now what we need to do is be a bit more specific about kind of how are we as partners going to respond to that specific need within Newport. So there'll be different climate changes issues, if you like, in Gwent, Caerphilly. So their individual plans will look at that, but it is fed in from our residents to get that overarching thing, and then we then work for it. So it's working both ways. It hasn't gone, it's gone down, up, and then back down, up, and then back down again, if that makes any sense. So yeah, but the aim is that we have a rounded plan, both regionally and locally, this evidence-based and meets the needs of each of our local authority areas.
Claudine, are you happy with that?
Can I just follow up, because Janice rightly defends in the plan and the positivity and all of the things it could offer. Is it true to say that it's difficult to get local needs met in a regional plan? That is difficult. It is. But we are in a regional setup and we are in a regional PSB, so our job now is to make sure that is seen. And I think you asked about the flood, if someone here did. And it also doesn't remove that important responsibility from NRW. So like the ASB and the police, NRW still have their important role in the area and their work programme. And this is what else can we layer on using a regional approach? But I think, and this will come through all questions, you know, would we be better off with a Newport plan? That's not a possibility. We're part of a regional setup, so we need to access that setup as best we can with all of the evidence and all of the opinion behind us. You know, discussions like this and feeding that back. which is not to say it's not positive.
With budget cutbacks on top of all of that.
Yeah, what else can we do together with all of those costs?
Rosina?
Thank you, Chair. I actually wanted, well, some of the things I wanted to mention have been already mentioned by Councillor Whitehead and Councillor Druitt, but I just wanted to know why, who is Professor Mormont? And is this something that he's already done which has been successful?
Professor Marmot.
Or Marmot then, Marmot.
Yes, in summary, but if you want to get into
Yes, so at the moment it's been successful in England. So Gwent will be the first area in region within Wales to look at the outcomes. But it's in the Greater Manchester area. They've had some really positive results from working on it. And that's readily available. And also in my geography's terrible. That kind of that border with Wales, Chester.
Cheshire.
Yeah, Cheshire. Thank you. Yeah, so that area. So there's So those are the ones that we're learning from. But there's been some really positive outcomes already reported. So we're hoping that can have the same impact, although slightly tweaked, so that it meets our own requirements as a region. But I know that the lead has been heavily involved in the project and has spoken to Manchester and Chester about how it's working up there. So
and we feel that the Marmot principles benefit Newport actually, because it's about, I'm no expert, I know, but poverty and how that impacts on well-being and health, and therefore an evidence-led, and that I think helps us, because in Newport sadly we have that evidence. Which should pull in those principles.
Yes. Thank you, Fazio. I thought of Marmot was a large rat, but
I did see a few smirks when I asked the question from some of the members, and I thought, well, I did do a bit of research on there, but I thought I'll ask the question just to see if there's anything different that might come up. Yeah, I did look into Professor Marmot. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Chair. Following on from what Councillor Druitt talked about, what's in terms of driving this, the perceived benefits of this way of working. I don't object in principle to partnership working. Is it sort of driven by cost efficiency or by cost effectiveness? Could you distinguish between those two?
No.
Is it cost savings?
No.
Oh yeah. Are they trying to save money by?
Yes, or is it more an effective way?
It's about longer term.
Yeah.
It's for the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act is all about longer term working, longer term priorities that I think the Commissioner considers well-being over a 25-year period, a really long term period, and to push public bodies who are all got their own budgets and doing their own thing, to push them to work together to think about the long term and what extra benefit can be got, which is a difficult ask actually, and that's the driver. So there's no PSBs don't have a budget, for example, and like other partnerships, they rely on the budgets and the existing spend of the partners and what can be brought together.
Yeah, we hope it's not I've never thought of it as being a cost.
No.
Rodri Morgan's idea was that everyone should be working together, and they were, the NHS and the police, they were all, not talking to each other, so it is an attempt to do that, and hopefully it will succeed, but we need to make sure that it doesn't go the way of Quangos and other things, that all the power is somewhere else doing nothing, and we are just trying to find out how to get it. Steve?
Can I sort of dig around a little more with the sort of two levels, the regional level and the local level? Because I'm not sure I completely got my head around this at the moment. if you take on the objective, sort of giving young children a better start in life, yes, that's not going to be done by the Public Services Board. That's going to be done by education departments, by housing departments, by social services and all the local services in an area. Yes. Yeah. So that's where the practical action is going to be, and presumably it talks in the report about it talks about these are general principles, aren't they? We need specific action. So they will come within local areas like Newport by services that a large part of which are run by Newport Council, like education, like housing, social services. Yeah. So if I understand this correctly, you've got the overarching aims, but the actual task is being done in local areas, yes? So
For some of them, yes.
Sorry. Yeah, that's where the delivery is. I'm not. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And presumably that's where the assessment's going to be made of how successful some of these things are going to be.
Yes, well, the Gwent PSB has the overarching governance for it, so that's why each local authority is represented on the Gwent PSB. So yeah, they have the overall governance, but we will still be accountable for our own local delivery plan under One Newport.
The One Newport, right? Okay,
Yeah.
and so like, all right, okay, and so there'll still be local scrutiny of that as well.
Yes.
At the One Newport, right? Okay,
Yes.
right, okay. So the concept of I'm just picking up another comment that was made. The concept then of the regional partnership, the Public Service Board, isn't so much to, or is it to make a judgment about how successful things are across the piece? It's about the regional scrutiny group, I'm sorry, will be looking at what extra this regional partnership is adding to what local authorities are doing already. Is that correct?
Yeah, and how the whole partnership is working. So if you think about when we talk about Gwent, obviously we're really lucky in that we've got Gwent Police that covers the whole of Gwent. We've got an Iron Bedlam that's got the same footprint, and so at that level, at that strategic kind of higher level, it's about the fact that if one of us was experiencing barriers, if you like, with the health board, then actually we've got that system within the Gwent PSB to be able to kind of support that and make sure that it's going across the board, that we are being fair or kind of effective across the whole of Gwent.
But the only way in which the Public Service Board will know, for example, if children are getting a better start in life is actually by looking at what's going on in each of the authorities, presumably.
Yeah.
And pulling that together.
Yeah. So as well as and these are the things that are in the terms of reference in our next report. There is about how do we scrutinise local action plans, and also then that the regional view of all of the action plans then and how they are supporting the outcomes and the objectives.
Yeah. So it's almost like a policing role, isn't it? That they will be making. It should be operating successfully at the municipal level. If it's not, Public Service Board will be able to say, why aren't health working with social services?
Well, and also the Public Service Board presumably should help Newport to do it better than if it's doing it its own, right? So concept.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but that it's already been said, that's difficult to.
Because you've got the big stick, you can say, well, if you don't want to, I'm going to take it to the regional board then, and we'll see what they got to say about it.
I think it's worth remembering as well as a lot of the partners are regional, so they already work on natural resources with national. Health is on a different footprint. Police and fire are on slightly different footprints again, so it is difficult to kind of focus on that one bit of the map, and a bigger chunk brings about more commonality actually in the partnership space.
Not sure I entirely agree with you. Although the police are Gwent-wide, we know that there's a tremendous amount of autonomy in the police force. I mean, the policeman on the beat is autonomous. He can't get help from somebody who's going to make decisions on the beat. And we've known, you shouldn't bring that issue up, I know, move away from the police, the health, you know. You've got.
Police and crime commission is a good example,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that you may have difficulties with those. The fact that the Gwent region of the health board or the police have got a particular set of ideologies that they want to implement, that might not be happening when we're dealing with individuals on the ground. And therefore, we, you know, now we can take it upstairs and say, all right, well, if you don't want to play ball, I'll tell you who will make you play ball.
Yeah, because if you guys all sat at that table.
Yeah, so hopefully that will work, as long as it doesn't become an invisible crowd. Johnson.
I've just-
On the same issue.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, go on.
If there's somebody on the council who actually who heads up the One Newport.
Yeah, the leader, so the leader's the
Yeah,
chair.
yeah, but I mean, to be respect, that the leader's given it the strategic, you know, he's there to look at the thing strategically, give it, you know, strategic impetus, if you like. But obviously, the work on the daily work on the ground is done by officers, presumably.
Yeah.
So that's your role, is it? You know, so you sort of pull it all together and head it up on the local,
Yeah.
the One Newport strategy on a local basis, yeah.
Among other things, I have to say,
Yeah.
I don't think that's Jan's only job, among many other things.
Why do that? Yeah.
But also the chief exec sits around that table as well, and it is important to have really senior people with, you know, their.
Well, it makes it rich. You need somebody who's like baby it is, who's pulling it all together and.
Yes, we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, so no, it is something that we work really closely with as a team. So, you know, the partnership element of the service area is around, you know, that One Newport partnership in particular, as well as the Deputy Safety Partnership and another partnership working. But definitely something that kind of forms a lot of the work of our team and the service area. And I think, you know, the more. Somebody mentioned budgets earlier, but I think it's really even more important now to work in partnership to be able to achieve those ambitions than maybe it ever has been before. So that partnership working and collaboration is even more important now. So.
Yeah, it should be. John?
Thank you, Chair. Hi. Just a quick question with Newport, you know, One Newport and such within the shared agreements and such. Obviously, it's houses in Newport given it. Obviously, I looked at him with a little bit perhaps to protect Newport from a drain of resources itself. How does it sit with the rest of the group, given the dominance of Newport, perhaps with One Newport, and where we sit within the group? Are we sort of like, do we take the lead on most things? And, you know, I know it's going to be discussions, but have we got a good argument? Are we sort of vocal and how are we going to take the lead? Is there going to be more sort of like constraints on us, or we've got to give more in the times we had before? And if we give more to the group and share it, does that mean our needs of Newport is going to be lesser? So my concern is more like military, I suppose, and action plan for ourselves directly in Newport being shared amongst a wider area in the size of Newport, really.
So going back to Tracy's point, there is no budget for the regional PSB. So everything that we've got stays within Newport. In relation to the local bit, so every local authority, every partner has equal status when it comes to the PSB. But what we do have within One Newport is yes, that is our work. So that is how we work across Newport. But that's just one part of the Gwent.
So you don't think One Newport will have a clash with other agreements, because obviously with One Newport surely is for Newport,
Yeah.
and then that could cross over a boundary of like miscommunication or misunderstanding. How are you going to resolve these points at the time?
And that's the beauty of the Gwent PSB then. So if that did happen, you've got that overarching body. And we've also got underneath the Gwent PSB, we've got an officer group called GSWAG. So you know, people on my level, Tracy's level, we have those conversations all of the time about how we're effective as a partnership, a regional partnership, and how we work better together. And so, yeah, I appreciate I'm probably selling the positives because it's not always positive, but that ability to be able to work together and learn from each other. And if I'm honest, to have some of those open conversations sometimes where we don't agree. So there have been occasions where all of us have had to have said, well, you know, sorry, don't agree with that one, and bring a consensus there. But it's very much led on a consensus and collaborative basis.
I think you said correctly there, like all the positives were asked. my experience of this, isn't it? You know, with Newport or councils, where there are sometimes things go wrong. My concern would be how do we work on those issues, how effectively we're going to be, as you just mentioned, there's ever another committee there, but is sharing and working together, but things do go wrong in reality. How quick can we resolve them, and what detrimental effects it's going to have on Newport or the group as such going forward? Because, as you said, it's a 25-year plan. It's a long journey, and it's great and more exciting. It's prospective. However, we all know in reality in life things go wrong at the time. So I'm more concerned, how do we put it right back on track and how quick and effective we can be? That's my concern at the moment.
That's the role of scrutiny, is to make sure that they do right. Stephen?
God, there were two other things that you mentioned.
Yeah, carry on. Any as you like.
Well, I was interested in the sort of timescale of some of this because I mean, to quite honest, you know, I don't disagree with any of the evidence here, but if you read it, I mean, if I'd have read this 10 years ago, looking forward, I would have thought that we're heading into some sort of nightmare, you know, in terms of collapsing living standards and increasing ill health, mental health. People can't afford food, people can't afford energy, and that is happening now, isn't it? I mean, it's been happening, I don't know what, for the last sort of few months it began, and it's going to be going on for the next, I don't know how long, year, 2 years. And it just struck me, a lot of this, and it needs like immediate action now. It doesn't need people like us sitting around talking about strategies and plans and whatever. It needs a group of people getting together and doing something. And I don't know how if that kind of crisis mechanism could be built into this somehow, or is intended to be in it. But it just seemed to me that some of this throwing up concerns that we just couldn't sort of hang around and wait to resolve. People need us now, basically.
And you know, we definitely see that in it around kind of how do we keep it alive as well moving forward. I think if we talk about what's happening now, we've still got our own wellbeing plan kind of going on as we're developing the regional plan. So that's still working. I know, you know, if you think about the work that's happened over the last couple of months, even within the council. So, you know, we've had a cost of living summit run by the leader. We've had some of our officers going out doing road shows around different areas of Newport to be, you know, in partnership to look at how we can support our residents with rough water, etc. All of those people. So there is lots of work going on. This hasn't stopped. Nothing stopped while we develop the regional plan. That's just going on in the background, for want of a better word. But yeah, there's you know, we're trying our best to support people as much as we can through the things that we're doing, and we share it.
Are they going on? These aren't going on to existing programmes, or these things that have been specifically put in place for the crisis?
Yeah, so the summit and the task and finish group that we've been working with, and the community events have all been put in because of the situation that we're dealing with. So we have got the kind of the day-to-day stuff and the future planning, but also we've got the what do we do now and how can we support people now.
You had another point. Did you want it on that specific point? Was yours on that specific point? Because Steve wanted to come back.
Well, it's on a specific point.
That's another specific.
Yes. Do you want Steve?
Well, mine was different than the other one. So, do you want me to go?
Well, you're in the chair.
The other thing that interested me was the consultation, the questionnaire, because it just seems to me that a lot of the people who will be relying on us the most, in terms of the people in greatest deprivation, etc., and probably the people least likely to fill in a questionnaire. And they're the real people we need to talk to find out what their needs are. I'm just wondering what the plans are for consultation, because the only thing that's in the report that I can see, I'm corrected if I'm wrong, is that questionnaire. And I'm not even quite sure how that's going to be distributed and got to be.
Yeah, so the question is there, and it's on the Public Services Policy website. But there's been a communication and engagement group running alongside this work, and there's been going out into communities. So some of our officers have been involved, other officers from across different areas of Gwent actually go. So we've had in the summer those bits, you know, the play in the park and things like that. That our officers were involved in and supporting people to fill in those questions face to face, rather than just relying on the consultation. So all of that's being collated and put back in. But yeah, that's just one way people being able to consult. So we've made the engagement plan is really clear about making sure that we're engaging with all of our communities as well. Some of those that are traditionally we struggle to kind of gain feedback from. So that work has been ongoing throughout the consultation period as well.
Okay.
It's worth saying there's a complicated thing in there as well about talking about Gwent, isn't there? People don't associate with Gwent, they associate with their local area. So the messaging has been quite difficult there. If you think about the things you would respond to, they'd be in your ward or in your city, and you might be less inclined to respond about Gwent. So we've had to try and layer that and make it clear that it affects people's lives, and Gwent's sort of almost an outdated concept, a lot of people would think, I think, whereas it's very real in partnership terms.
I can understand your concern though. We used to be very poor at getting questions to the people who mattered. It was tended to be the middle class, white, educated people who used to give us all the information. But Tracy, when she was in this previous role, and Reese have done an amazing amount of work at using every single method that we can in order to contact the vulnerable groups. And that's what we do. In order to find out what's really happening on the ground, they actually anything like the giving money to the charity groups and participatory budget. Let's use that. Let's use that to find out what's going on the ground. You know?
Yeah.
Apart from all the good that the money does to those groups, we actually find out a lot more about their needs over and above that. So yeah. I think as long as Janice doesn't spoil it all, it's wonderful at the moment.
Might be better.
That's why she invited me to spoil it all.
John and then Steve again.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Have you done you again?
I was asked Steve.
Sorry, I've lost track.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Go on.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. In terms of avoiding this becoming a sort of talking shop, another layer on top of what's already been done, how much do you expect sharing from good practice to take place? Obviously, you want something to come out of this, and then sharing good practice around. Is that the important aspect of it? To what extent is it the important aspect?
Yeah, I think that's the main ambition of that Gwent PSB, is that there is that collaborative joint working, sharing best practice, sharing resources rather than giving away resources. So kind of just being more effective with what we have. So that is the whole ethos, I guess, for the Gwent PSB in the region. The reason that kind of as Newport we agreed to go into that kind of regional public services board.
Sean?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just 2 points to Tracy Reed on the comment you just made. So I think human nature, we're quite inward looking ourselves, especially before, when you say Gwent, we think further afield, and then we also look at blind Gwent, which sort of associates a little bit more like a poor area and such like that. So in respect to promoting this to the people of Newport, we've got to make sure we highlight all the benefits of being in a group. Otherwise, people in Newport, I've been guilty of it before. We look inwards on why we share it and give it away, and we don't reflect on what we're gaining. So maybe that should be a high point to go back on what you're saying.
Yeah, thank you for that. I absolutely agree, and I think there's another problem that Newport is slightly different to the rest of Gwent has more in common with each other statistically than with us, and so we have to really work at making it real for us.
I think if I could just inject there, we're townies compared to
Absolutely.
villages, and let's be pleasant. We still see, I know we're a city, but we still see ourselves as townies, yeah. And I think that mentality sits with us still in heritage.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, so we're really on to drive home that, and the Gwent PSB rightly wants to call itself Gwent. So there's 2 layers to that message. It's really complex.
So yeah, just try to get a positive view of what we're doing.
You're right.
When Newport Rugby.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Steve? Did you want to come back?
No, that's fine too.
Okay. Any other comments? Is that a legacy hand, Fazine? I think it is.
Chair, can I just say,
Yes, it is. Yeah, old hands.
Who's that? Is that? Oh, Kevin, go ahead.
yeah, on objective 3, the environment and biodiversity, I think what's happening along the Monmouthshire Breckenridge Canal is fantastic. That plays right into this. I don't know what partners are involved in. I know the council have a role, but what is going along there has attracted an amazing amount of people. So things like that, when they become physically attractive, and there's a lot of work on it, that, as you know, Dave, you'll see the work that's going along there. That actually instigates an interest in the outside world. It gets people off settees and things, including the kids. And I think the work that's gone on along there, if it's mirrored across other areas, that can only be a good thing. I think it's fantastic. I just sort of wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Canal is vitally important, but I don't know when we're going to get some spare cash to deal with that. That'll have to come from somewhere else, I think. Any other comments? Can I thank you all for your presentation and your answers to the questions? Really interesting. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. If you wish to depart, or you're on now.
I'm ready. It's us again on a similar topic.
Can you go out and come back and make it like you said, invited them?
I won't introduce us all again, but so
Sorry.
that was kind of the outcomes bit, but we also want to talk to you about the process and how that's managed and what that means for scrutiny. So again, Jan, if you can introduce that.
Yes, so council,
Yeah, sorry.
a lot of the conversations and the questions we've had have already related to this, so that, you know, forgive me if there's any duplication, so I'll try and be as kind of smooth as I can be. So obviously we're now looking at section pages 21 to 28 of the pack, which is about developing a regional scrutiny committee for the Public Services Board, and that will form part of the governance then of the Gwent Wellbeing Plan, which will be published in May. So it has previously been brought to scrutiny, I believe. It's been passed by council, and there was an agreement in principle to set up a regional scrutiny. So now we've got to the stage that the Gwent PSB agreed the setting up of the regional one in September, the end of September. So now it's going back to each of the local authorities to agree the terms of reference, and also to look at the 2 nominations from each partner to sit on the board. So going back to your point, Councillor Jones, around the kind of the equal kind of representation on the regional scrutiny. So they're hoping to become operational in the new year, provided everything goes through, and we are hoping for it to be discussed at full council in February 23. So there is more information on the background in the pack on pages 27 and 20, on pages 23 to 26, sorry, and then the draft terms of reference are on pages 27 and 28. As noted, when Newport will still be the local delivery group, so we're still working on our current wellbeing plan, and even, you know, when we have the Gwent wellbeing plan, we will still have, when Newport will still have our local delivery plan. So there still will need to be scrutiny at that local as well as that kind of regional level moving forward. And we'll, you know, when Newport be responsible for our local action plan. And then we will need to look at, kind of, once everything's agreed, look at the terms of reference for this group, and to make sure that that then reflects on what goes to the regional scrutiny and our role, your role in that, including the Safer Newport Community Safety Partnership and how that can be scrutinised as well by members. So for this evening, we've had a lot of discussions discussing the proposal, or the kind of terms of reference, noting the development of the regional scrutiny, understanding what that means to you as a committee, and then hopefully agreement to take that to full council then in February for approval and adoption of the terms of reference, and for the nominations for the 2 members from the board to be able to sit on the regional scrutiny committee.
Okay, thank you for that. That will be decided elsewhere.
But I think there is, I mean, you know, there's a role for scrutiny, isn't there, to think about kind of how can you as a committee be confident that that your kind of membership is, or the Gwent membership is congruent and has that ability?
Whoever the two are, they will come back to, they'll be on this committee and will be reporting back on forwards and backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so taking the concerns that we've got to the region and vice versa. And so, yeah, it should be. My experience in the past has been that it's very useful to observe what is going on regionally and then bring it back. So, you know, should be quite good. Any comments on this bit?
I guess just to really highlight that, it'll give this committee also an opportunity, there is a risk, but an opportunity to rethink the terms of reference and what it looks at and disentangle other things such as the community safety partnership and other partnerships that have kind of sat in an umbrella under the PSB. So I think it would allow the committee to strengthen its role on the local matters. Actually, I think there are some opportunities. I think you meant sorry.
Good job, John.
Yeah, sorry. So with the regional meetings, will that be on a rotation around each member, or will it be, you know, got any plans on how it's going to be set up on the committees?
So I guess that won't be us, but so one thing I would say to the committee, if you've got a view about that, well, now would be the time to put a view forward, because that will be a council decision. And we're working with partners to try and make sure our arrangements are similar to theirs, you know, so all the members are in the same position. But if you have a view of how that should be done, this will be the time to record that.
I just think it'd be sensitive and, you know, looking from a Newport point of view, it needs to be neutral as possible on those type of venues and events. So I just think it could be a sensitive position and we need to be open-minded the way it's going to be held and such like that.
I think location is really important for such things, actually. Yes, so that, you know, that would be a
To me, it's a
worthwhile
team's
thing.
issue. I don't think you should be wandering around the county.
No,
Because it's always going to be the, you know, well, it should be in Gwent. Oh, okay, now it's in Monmouth and now it's in Newport. No, we already had it in Newport. So
it's a rotation. Sometimes you see the rotation, you go around, you know, like on tour.
it should be done on teams. I
Yeah.
see no reason why it shouldn't be done
And
on
this is
teams.
one of the questions with lead and to make sure that it's efficient, so we're not traveling around, and especially if you hosting the tea and coffee biscuits that we do.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
Stoves.
I think the Conservatives stopped it all.
See,
You've got a water cooler in the corner.
You're only in for 4 years. Obviously, that'll be.
I should have already invited you, not do not.
So, yeah, that'll be decided elsewhere, but is anything else? Sorry,
No, that's it from us.
that's really-
And you know, like I said, we had those
Okay.
discussions, didn't we, about how that would work in the previous item, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, councillors. Good night.
So we shall now go to item. John, by the way, the recommendations and the discussion will be passed on to you. So if you have any other comments, when you look at that and you think, oh, this is another point, you can add that to it and Neil know, and then we'll endorse that a little bit further.
If there is any further thoughts, sorry, if there is any further thoughts, if you would like to make about any of these agenda items, if you could let me know by Friday morning, because I'll send everything over to Nicola, because she's going to draft a report up. But with the first agenda item, the only note that I've taken back would be from Councillor Whitehead about Objective 2, about the antisocial behaviour. How when we're going to measure improvements with antisocial behaviour, so maybe that could be fed back more of that. But is there any other comments or recommendations that you would like to make in regards to that agenda item?
it sounds in like obviously I don't want Newport to have on any time, but I just want to protect Newport from any joint venture where we sort of take advantage of, and then we'll send us inward looking or whatever else. But these partnerships have got to be fair and transparent. We've got to show that have on the guidelines of how we're going to operate within that group.
Absolutely, the intention is good,
Yes,
but the intention doesn't always.
the history tells us otherwise.
Yeah.
I thought I didn't know where is it. Sorry, were you?
Well, I just say, I would like to see something about, evidence of shared good practice.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, no, I'm really
And
100%. It's something that we do here, we insist on,
yes,
sharing good practices as well.
sharing good practice at
Yeah.
that level.
It doesn't always happen
No, I know
at
that,
the regional level,
but there should be.
but this is an opportunity to do that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point, because it seems to be the best, probably the best thing about the regional partnership board is people, as you say, if we all carry on doing things the same as we've always done them, with the regional partnership board just a talking shop, it's a waste of time, isn't
Yeah, oh,
it?
yeah.
But it should see its role as being to make each of the constituent parts, the authorities do the job better by things like sharing, and I.
Sharing good practice,
Yeah,
and
resources.
and also policing, that all the partners, as my point earlier, about a policeman on the beat is reliant on his own wits and intelligence in order to do that. He's not going to put himself at risk. You can't fall back and ask for help. Well, increasingly you can, I know, but if you're faced with a serious situation, what we've got to make sure is that he's supported properly, and that is a Gwent policing issue.
Yes.
And therefore part of this partnership as well.
And the other thing that was important to me when I came here, which I was happy to hear about, was that I felt strongly that we should keep a handle on what's going on in Newport, basically. That I've said Newport isn't the same as other areas, and we'll have our own specific objectives as part of the big overall plan, and we need a group like this committee that actually is monitoring that and looking at what's being achieved. So that local level of planning and scrutiny is still really important. And then the other thing, I've got a few, which just start me off now. The other thing, can we just, I don't know, if we could just reinforce that point about consultation, that we just need to ensure that that the consultation is inclusive, perhaps is the way to put it, and includes all groups, including groups who sometimes or quite often tend not to get involved in. I know the chair said that there's quite a lot of work going on there, but I think it's worth just reinforcing the point. Sure. But it's not in the report, to be fair.
Okay. In regards to the actual survey itself, do you have any comments about the wellbeing objectives and the steps? Or are you happy with everything which is included in the survey?
Yeah. You haven't got a choice.
I think it's been led by, so it's been led already on it, so
Yes.
not review it and just list the parameters.
I don't think there's enough about public safety in there. Public safety of future generations.
Called crime, you mean, or?
From, climate change and
Environmental things more than crime.
yeah, I think so.
Thanks very much.
On a different point, how is Blaenau Gwent the lead council?
Why are they the lead?
Yeah.
I think I can get a more detailed response from Janice about that, but I think that was decided within all the local authorities. At the top of my head, I think it rotates on a two-year basis. They would have control of the admin part and stuff for the first 2 years. Then it'd be decided who's going to go for the next 2 years. I can get a definite answer for it, but that was my understanding of what I've read.
in the situation like it was when we were so many plans and how we've got a system in place already, they must be at the forefront of it at the moment.
They got the highest council tax. Anyway, so maybe that's why they started first and usually last, because we got the lowest.
Sorry.
Is that okay? We'll move on.
So, with the second agenda item, the development of the regional scrutiny committee, we recommended to look at the terms of reference for the new regional scrutiny and for the two reps, and note the development within the report as well of the timeline, what's been going on. Is there any comments or recommendations the committee would like to make in regards to this?
I presume that the team will have taken on the comments and feed those in.
I mean, it was building and all in the profile we are the platform for it, so it's going to be in the development still.
Yeah.
And so the new user release that with what they said indicated the hate that they try to get comments to keep on building that platform and come back to us in that year.
The proof of the pudding will be, as Kevin has pointed out, case studies where, you know, people aren't, agencies aren't working together. That's always been an issue, you know.
And the KPIs will be built in now, and they'll be able to set the KPIs of measurement and
So
reported by.
we'll have plenty of evidence of that happening or not happening that we can raise when it's done.
It's one of the recommendations for this rather than reviewed after 12 months, so that's got to go through now.
Okay, so we recommended to into reference which is included within the report. Are we happy with that?
Everyone happy? Everyone happy at home? In your lovely warm? It's warmer up here than it is at my home, actually. And I think I'll move up here. Lovely cozy. Okay, everyone happy?
Yeah.
So just to give you updates as well for the next two committee meetings, we've got a meeting next week and slightly earlier start. So the typo is 4:30 start, and to accommodate for any time she's the lead advisor for the violence against women.
So we're meeting at 4.
We're meeting at 4:00, yes. So we'll have the head of children, the young people services, the head of safeguarding, and Amy, the regional lead advisor. We'll also have an SRS here as well. So we'll have the chief officer, Tracy, Mark Blessed as well for that. Apologies, another typo in the for February's meeting. It would be Wednesday, February the 8th, 2023 at 5 o'clock. That'd be the EAS and business plan and the One Newport Wellbeing Plan Q2 performance.
Busy people, aren't we?
Chair, can I just chip in there? Neil, as you know, I have to navigate the perilous M4 every night. I made it tonight because there was not a single bump in sight and traffic flowed lovely. But the R4 meeting, obviously that is my aim. And hopefully I'll be there for all R4. But be patient with me at times if you would, because there might be like 10 minutes late.
On Teams or physically? You're going to be on
My
Teams?
team's getting back to Newport now. Dave can be an absolute. Currently on the Severn Bridge, you'll all be aware there's massive undertaking of works whereby the strands are being examined. So the bridge now on either side is down to one lane. So around going home time that can get a bit jammed, and if there's one bump, well, you probably hear me swearing from where you are, but it can happen. So for me, the M4 is a gamble every night I come home from work. So if I'm late by 10 minutes, whatever, please bear with.
I'll note that. Thanks, Councillor.
Just please, I might be 10 minutes late here and there, Neil.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
We'll wait for you. We won't start until you arrive.
That's
Yes, we
unbelievable.
will. Sorry, there was
Can I just say on I can't remember who said it earlier on, and they were right. They had a bit of a point, but when you do things like regional initiatives, they're always well intended. But I'm also a little aware of it's a lovely word, this. I'm also aware of a parochial approach It can happen because we all get a bit selfish. 2 hours Newport is the best, blah, blah, blah. But I think that everybody should make a massive effort to put them things aside and work for the greater good of all partners within the regional setup, you know. So parochialism has no place in what we do. Everyone agree with that, I hope.
We're international socialists over this end.
I'm in the wilderness, Dave.
Thanks, good. Okay.
Sorry, did you say it's a little bit last next week's meeting?
You started half an hour early.
Half an hour earlier, yes.
Yeah, for the pre-meeting is 3:30.
Oh, so the pre-meeting would be 4 o'clock. Yes, and the actual meeting would start at 4:30.
4 o'clock. Yeah, we have lunch. We've got planning. We've got our planning.
All right, so you've got planning in the morning.
Yeah, with 9 till 2.
We've got a group meeting, which is a budget meeting. And I think they're all willing to attend, so.
Yeah, because we'll be moved, the plans moved as a cabinet room. It's really one.
Yeah. So you may have to,
Okay.
if we, wasn't it going to be a Teams anyway?
So that was church briefing, that was.
Or if, we make, oh, that's, we've moved it back. Did I not even move it back? We sort that. We will be meeting.
It's a busy place on that things, isn't it? Because like, so we've got 3 minutes for planning and planning for the 2 o'clock and 9 till 2 that day. So we're in the room because you were thinking yesterday, and that's what seeing with this going on. I thought it must be with this moment of movement. Because you're going to be telling that. Oh, yeah. Because you got to be careful, man, because you're going to be 4 o'clock in 4 meetings.
Yeah. No, I mean, SRS, we want to ask.
6 o'clock.
So.
Is it?
No, not yours.
Oh, no, I was here about planning, they moved it to the cabinet room, because you like, so you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I went there earlier, I thought, we went at 4 o'clock, is it?
We'll sort it out. That's a
Yes. They moved this back. We can shoot around 2 o'clock, please.
We'll
Earlier.
manage.
Okay.
Okay, so, final item then is the minutes of the, previous meeting on the 26th and on the 9th. Are there any issues?
Is it not item before that, Chair?
So it's just the action sheet that was council just to advise that certain actions that are ongoing, we're waiting for information from Roxanne and Sally.
We used to do the action sheet in the pre-meeting. Because usually.
I thought we were planning our future well.
Yeah, well, can we do the action sheet in the pre-meeting? Make that the first thing so that we can get that out of the way. You know, there's some people paying a fortune to watch us on this.
That's you getting you this, isn't it?
So any matters of accuracy on those, either of those minutes? Do you want me to go through the page, or are there any matters arising that you wish to raise? Are there any matters that were outstanding? No. So you're all happy? Yeah. With those minutes?
Good job.
And is that it?
Yeah,
That's it. Okay. Can I thank you at home, councillors and visitors, for your attendance? I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And we'll end the meeting now, and I'll see you all on the 7th of December at some time to be decided.